I am not forged for ordinary people. I am for those who step forward when everyone else stands still. I have seen wars and glory. I know what strength looks like. And I know what its end looks like. Gath. Training yard. Early morning. Commander Asher walked along the line with a smirk I know by heart. Well then, shields of Gath, did you sleep well? He always begins like that. The meaning is the same. You are soft, and now I'm going to fix that. I look at you, the flower of Gath, the pride of Philistia. He stopped in front of a recruit. Though the flower is weak. Dagon was clearly distracted that day. Philistia stands not because the gods are kind. It stands because every morning you do what you must, while others sit among their hills and wait for a miracle. Now that is closer to the point. Gath does not ask permission to be strong. That is all. Work, shorter than usual. So today will be hard. Asher clapped his hands and the formation broke apart. I love this moment. When people stop standing and start moving, you immediately see who is who. Goliath took a wooden spear. The partner opposite him was not a bad fighter. Against Goliath, that did not matter. Strike, block, another strike. Other hands. Yonat, a cousin, holding the hilt firmly, correctly. There was also a strike there, only a real one. Goliath stopped. He was not even out of breath. You hold the shield weakly. He always tells the truth. His main flaw. Yonat, after the battle, sitting, bandaging his arm, I felt how he breathed, heavily but evenly. Still alive then. He was a good fighter. The yard was working, in pairs, in threes, each with his own task. Not bad. That one on the right holds his elbow too high. In a month, you will get hit in the side and remember it. That one on the left moves well, but looks at the feet. In a real fight, that will be the last thing he sees. Asher corrected one man's stance, walked on, did not praise him. Correct. Gath knows how to prepare warriors. That is true. But preparing does not mean preserving. Yonat also knew how to hold the hilt. A field. Not this field, another one, earlier. Yonat fought well. Very well, even. There were simply more of them. Or the position was bad. Or the day turned out wrong. It happens. Goliath worked through another series and threw the wooden spear onto the ground. His partner exhaled with relief. He thought it was unnoticeable. Noticeable. After training, Dakar and Padi sat down nearby. Dakar, commander of 10, dense as a roadstone. Padi, young, from Ashkelon, ended up in Gath through relatives. These two always found themselves beside each other after training. Not because they were friends, simply because they were used to it. Dakar poured half a jug over his head and frowned. He had heard, he said, that those beyond the hills had started stirring again. The tribes were gathering, their numbers growing. Padi shrugged. When had they not been stirring? I had heard that too, not for the first time. Goliath was distracted from his thoughts and answered without looking. Let them gather. Without iron, without walls. They will gather and then scatter. Dakar snorted. Agreed. Padi nodded. Also, the conversation closed by itself. And they were right. By every measure, right. I knew that better than others. From the training yard, Goliath went through the market. I hung on his belt and watched. The market in Gath is a separate performance. Every day the same thing, and every day everyone pretends that something important is happening. A cloth merchant shouted over the counter to his neighbor. "You took my place again!" The neighbor did not turn around. "My place! 10 years already!" "You lie. Ask anyone you want!" Everyone around pretended not to hear. That, too, was every day. Goliath walked through all this like a ship through reeds. People stepped aside not because they were afraid, simply because there was no other way. At the blacksmith quarter, he stopped before Master Rubo, old, smoke-blackened, with hands like tree roots. "When will the spearheads be ready?" Goliath asked. Rubo did not lift his head from his work. 3 days. Long. Do you want it fast, or do you want it good? Goliath looked at him. Rubo finally lifted his head and added, "I will try in 2. That is a conversation I understand." Further on, the storehouses by the southern gate. Grain, oil, cloth. Ashkelon, Gaza, Ashdod, Ekron. Everything goes through these roads. 5 cities, 5 rulers, 1 common interest. A simple system. Whoever holds the plain holds everything that moves across it. Merchants know this. Rulers know this. Even those beyond the hills know this. That is why they come to us to sharpen sickles, and not the other way around. At the temple of Dagon, a priest was saying something to a group of people. A solemn voice, a broad gesture. The people listened with serious faces. Goliath slowed his step. The priest raised his hands and said that Dagon gives harvest and victory to those who honor him, that the sea and the land are in his hands, that the enemies of Philistia are the enemies of Dagon. The people nodded. Someone from the crowd shouted, "Glory to Dagon!" The others picked it up. Goliath stood for a little while, then went on. Dagon is responsible for everything with them. For the harvest, Dagon. For victory in battle, Dagon. For a good price at the market, probably him too. A convenient god, a broad profile. Yonat also honored Dagon properly, without absences. Dagon was busy then. At the gate of the blacksmith quarter stood several people. Not from Gath, it was visible at once. They had come to sharpen. This happened regularly. Rubo came out and looked them over. "What did you bring?" One of them, not young, with calloused hands, laid out a sickle and a plowshare. "They have gone blunt. The harvest is soon." Rubo took the sickle, turned it over. "Pick it up by evening. Pay in advance." Then a young man from their group reached into his bosom and pulled out a small knife. He held it out to Rubo. "And this? Can you?" Rubo looked at the knife, then at him. "No." The young man did not understand. "Why?" "Because no," Rubo said and returned to the forge. They did not sharpen weapons for them. That was not discussed. They had no forge of their own. They did not know iron. So they came to us for sickles and plowshares and went back to their hills. Such was the order. It suited everyone, while it suited everyone. While they waited, no one spoke to anyone. Ours looked at them. They looked to the side. Not fear, simply 2 peoples who know perfectly well what they think of each other and see no point in discussing it. They needed our iron. We took money for it. That was where mutual understanding ended. Rubo brought out the finished work. They took it, nodded, and went to the gate. There were many like them, from different hills, from different tribes, without cities, without walls, without iron. Goliath hung me on the wall and left. That was my favorite part of the day. Yonat, the cousin before Goliath, held me differently, made decisions faster, sometimes too fast. The last time, definitely too fast. He was a good fighter. The system did not preserve him. Goliath took me in his hands afterward and said only, "Good balance." We understood each other without extra words. That family knew how to do that. Speak little, weigh much. He was not the only one like that in Gath. A whole branch, large, trained from childhood, expensive to maintain, and very useful at the right moment. The Pentapolis kept such people close. The Pentapolis generally knew how to count the price of things. 5 cities, 5 rulers. Gaza looks to the sea. Ekron presses oil. Gath looks toward the hills. Everyone knows his own business. Everything works. And beyond the hills, those with the sickles. 12 tribes, each on its own. No single ruler, no city walls, no iron. They argue, agree, disperse. By all the rules, such a system should have fallen apart at the first serious blow. But I had seen battles where they held together more firmly than they should have, where 12 suddenly became one. And that one was a very inconvenient opponent. What held them together, I did not see and could not touch. I do not like what I do not understand. Days passed. Trainings, market, dressing room, wall. Trainings again. I waited. Not impatiently, simply waited. Such is the work. Goliath waited too. I felt it. He became shorter in conversations, went to the market less often, looked longer toward the hills. A warrior without war is like a blacksmith without fire. Everything is with him, everything is ready, but not for the purpose. Yonat, in such periods, began cleaning me 3 times a day. Goliath simply fell silent more than usual. Then one morning a messenger appeared in the yard, dusty, fast, with the ruler's seal. Goliath read it, called Dakar. "We are gathering," he said. Dakar nodded and left without asking questions. Now that is another conversation. A few days later, we stood camped in the Valley of Elah, opposite Israel. Their equipment was worse than that of our baggage men. Goliath put me on every morning and every evening, went down into the valley and shouted the same thing. Would anyone come out or not? Israel was silent. Goliath returned. 39 times. On the 39th evening, he went to the command tent. Achish and 2 rulers from other cities were sitting there. Maps, quiet voices. Achish did not lift his head. How much longer will they stand there? I do not know, said Goliath. Saul is trapped. If he comes out, he loses. If he does not come out, he loses men without battle every day. One of the rulers put aside a scroll. Provisions are not endless. If they do not break by themselves, we will have to attack. Goliath was silent for a moment. Give me one more day. Achish nodded. The others said nothing. One day. Good. Then Goliath found Dakar and Padi by the fire. Silent again? Padi asked. Silent. Dakar shook his head. A strange people, to endure such a thing for 39 days. For 39 days their king has been losing face, said Goliath. Tomorrow either someone will come out, or they will begin going home. Padi smirked. And if no one comes out? Goliath took a piece of bread and did not answer. He looked into the fire. I hung nearby, thinking the same thing, probably. For 39 days they had been silent. Tomorrow would be the 40th. Goliath shouted to them about their god every day. It was a precise strike, not at the body, but at what is more important than the body. Losing land can be survived, but to come out and lose in the name of your god, that is different. Saul understood this. That is why he was silent. But 39 days is a lot, even for a wise decision. Something held them besides calculation. Tomorrow would be the 40th. In the morning, Goliath put me on as usual. The armor-bearer handed him the helmet. They went down. The 40th day looked like all the others. Goliath stopped in the middle of the valley and drew in air. "Choose a man!" he shouted. "Let him come down to me. If he defeats me, we are your slaves. If we defeat him, you are ours. One man, one fight. Or are you all cowards to the last man?" Israel was silent. Usually at this point, I already knew what would happen next. But then something stirred in the Israelite line. One man went down the slope, quickly, confidently, without armor, without a spear, a staff, a bag on his shoulder, a sling in his hand. Young, very young. Goliath narrowed his eyes. Have they sent a dog with a stick to me? The boy stopped opposite him and answered loudly so that everyone could hear. You come to me with sword and spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, whom you have defied. I had heard that name before, from those people with the sickles. Back then, I did not attach importance to it. I had seen brave people. I had seen fanatics, but such confidence in a man without armor, without a sword, against Goliath, I had never seen. By every measure, stupidity. Pure, unclouded stupidity. Goliath stepped forward. The boy ran toward him, taking a stone from the bag as he moved. Wrong. That is not how it is done. Goliath threw the spear. The boy moved aside. The spear went into the ground. Goliath reached for the second. The sling was already spinning. The stone struck him in the forehead. Goliath fell, heavily, as walls fall. It became quiet. I lay beside him in the dust, lifted by no one. Position? No, the position was normal. Numbers, 1 against 1. Weapons, ours were better. Experience, ours was greater. A stone, just a stone. I had no words for this. For the first time in all that time, I had none. David ran up, stood for a second, and took me. His hands were calloused, shepherd's hands. He held me confidently. He raised me and brought me down. I did what I had been created for, simply in different hands. The Israelite line exploded with a shout. The Philistines ran. David took me with him and left. There are things iron will not cut. I did not understand it at once.